Gotta record this. I'm so thrilled to be connecting with Brendan Davine. And I've got to say, folks, look at this beautiful dog, which is an Aussie dog living in America in Las Vegas. And her name is Luna. So I want to welcome you, Brendan, and Luna, who is your on-set dog and just is very beautiful, I might add. Hello.
Yeah.
How did you acquire?
Well, I've always, like we were talking before we came on, had Australian Shepherds. And Colorado, the state of Colorado here in America, is probably the best place to get them, the bloodlines. And
Right.
so during COVID, I went and got this little one from Colorado, and she's been with me ever since. Spent every day on set. And while, that is kind of jokey and everything, it's
Yeah.
film crew morale is a real thing, right? And you want people to be happy and or happy as they can be, right?
Yes.
And having a dog around, she loves people, people love her, and having a dog around really helped people,
Yeah, it does.
their morale on set, didn't you, Luna? And she got lots of attention and treats. And I'm going to put her down now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you.
But
Thank
but it
you.
was very helpful for her to be on set.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Luna. And you be good doggy.
Now, go patrol the
Brendan,
yard.
yeah, control the yard.
Yeah.
So, Brendan, I'm really thrilled to be, talking to you. We were supposed to have obviously met at the AFM, but I sadly didn't get there. Um, but I heard that, obviously it was with the new location. There was a lot of obviously mixed reviews there, but for you, it was positive, which was great to hear about your film, The Sound, a sci-fi horror. And you are obviously running Skywalker Sound, which is on your cap there. And
Yeah.
so tell us about the film. How did the film come about and just how it's been received and where it's going.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carolyn, for the opportunity to talk with you.
Oh, it's great.
The sound took, as most movie projects do, took years, and Genesis started when I was fortunate enough on my previous film to work with the fine people at Skywalker Sound and Lucasfilm at the Skywalker Ranch on the sound design. And I was driving home. I live in Las Vegas, driving back from California. And I just kind of thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to have like a villain in a film be
Mm,
made of sound? Because we sit there when you're mixing these sound things, looking at waveforms and all the little programs, and you just start
yeah,
to, it's almost like the Matrix, right? When they just see the screens of numbers, but you
yeah,
can look at that and go, oh, that's a woman in a red dress. You
yeah,
can look at the sound waveforms and just start to recognize certain things, like say the dialogue editor on the sound
yeah,
was the same dialogue editor who did Avengers Endgame, right? One of the biggest films of all time. And watching him work is absolutely incredible as he looks through these things and could just say, "Oh, there's a hard S." While you and me would look at it and just be like, "Well, that's a whole bunch of static on a screen, right?"
yes.
So I was driving back and it just kind of intrigued me about, hey, what if I did like a villain as a sound? One, it'd be economical because I wouldn't have to cast an
I
actor,
know. Very
something like
clever.
that. But just a kind of a cool idea. I've always been into sound. I used to be a roadie before I was a filmmaker back in my younger days, touring around with bands and stuff like that. So definitely interested in the sound aspect of films.
Yeah.
Fast forward maybe a year or so, and I saw the wonderful film Free Solo with the rock climber Alex Honnold, which was a documentary that won the Best Oscar documentary, I believe, in 2018, about how Alex Honnold climbed a route on El Capitan in Yosemite here in America without a rope. It's like 3,000 feet. I don't know if you've seen it, but I would check it out if you've never seen it. It's a
Oh,
true
that's
story.
on the
It
list.
documented him on this huge rock face without a rope, right? So
Yeah.
I'm reading reviews of it, and someone called it the best horror movie I've ever seen. And a little bit more of my backstory. After I left college in the northeast of America, I moved to the mountains of Colorado to a town called Telluride, and I just kind of skied and ice climbed and got into mountain climbing and stuff like that.
Mm,
So pretty used to being in like what we call the vertical world, So it didn't seem that scary to me. So a light bulb went off in my head that was like, wow, a lot of people might think that's scary to be on the side of a cliff, right? Duh. And
mm,
that's where I kind of married the two ideas with, like it's a rock climbing horror film, where the villain is a sound wave. The other thing that really helped steer my idea was John Carpenter's wonderful film The Thing, which I think was in 1982, about where the guys down there in Antarctica, and
mm,
there's an unseen alien that is affecting each one of them, right? And it was almost, when you look back at it now, it's almost contained horror before that was even kind of a term or something like that. He put like 12 characters alone on this based out in the middle of nowhere, Antarctica, with an unseen alien, and the tension comes from kind of like the shell game, like who's infected. They all don't know who's infected, right? And it's just a
mm.
wonderful film. Scared the crap out of me when I was, 10 years old when I saw that film. Still scares the crap out of me. So I tried to, you can't recreate that exactly, but as far as the sci-fi horror aspect of it, my elevator pitch for this was always kind of like free solo, the rock climbing thing times the thing,
Yeah.
right? So, and instead of like an unseen alien, it's an unseen alien that exists as a sound wave.
I think that's brilliant. This is fabulous. So how how did the film get received at AFM? Have we
Yeah, well, AFM just kind of ended. We screened on the last day of screenings on the
uh,
Friday. Dolby Atmos, one of the great things about, well, first of all, to have something called the
yeah,
sound for the film has to be good, right?
absolutely.
You can't have poor sound. And so my relationship with Lucasfilm and Skywalker Sound was up there for a month, and they just made a tremendous, tremendous sound mix. Really came through. Everything is great. The music,
Yeah.
the score was done by the lead guitarist for the Smashing Pumpkins, James Iha.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Right.
so we kind of went with like it's rock climbing, so we went with like rock music. And
Yep.
so we have Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. We have an Australian band called King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, who's Aussies, on the soundtrack. Alice in Chains. So it's really pop sound because it has to be. It's called the sound. And so they made me a wonderful Atmos mix, which you usually don't see kind of at this level of independent film production. And I was very happy to be able to screen at AFM for people and mostly buyers in
Yes.
its intended form, right? With
Yeah.
its Atmos sound mix on a big theater because
Mm,
theatrical releases just aren't, not only not guaranteed anymore, they're just not really happening for films of this level. So at
yeah.
least wide theatrical releases.
Mm,
So it was great to be able to show people in its most valuable form, as far as AFM goes. And as far as I know, I never trust the people who I pay to work on a project or any of that or prospective people. Because you never really get the truth. But our sales rep has said that it received good feedback and some offers are rolling in, so we're happy about that. That's about the best we can ask for, right?
that is absolutely, and that's really amazing. Very positive, which is really good. So where are you from here on, Brendan?
Well, you since we're U.S. based, generally we've already kind of agreed to several territories out in the world, but that release don't happen until after we have our own release date here in the U.S. lockdown. And so we're
Okay.
negotiating with the several U.S. based distributors right now, and once we figure out who we're going to go with and how it's going to get released, then we'll have a release date, which I'm sure will be maybe January, February, not very far out. The film has been completed for a little bit, and we just kind of waited till AFM to have the biggest exposure, right?
Absolutely.
As far as getting people to see the film.
Yeah.
We have some great. The cast is great. I went, kind of behind casting because it's easier to cast rock climbers and sort of show them how to act than it is to put actors up there and then teach them how to rock climb, which takes decades for these people because the rock climbing characters in this film are, some of the world's best, right? And there's definitely ways of how you deal with the gear and the ropes and all that sort of thing. So I looked for actors who did have a rock climbing background and was fortunate enough to find enough that were so into it that they were able to do them both, act well, but still also know how things work, like harnesses and how the rope runs through your belay devices and the terminology and those things. Because we really tried to make this film for rock climbers, because it's mostly not portrayed very authentically in big film, like Cliffhanger or Vertical Limit, which are huge films and great in their own. I love Cliffhanger. Who doesn't love Cliffhanger? But
Yeah,
it doesn't show climbing in any sort of realistic way, and that's noticed in the rock climbing community. So we
yeah,
really put together this film, so that rock climbers can watch it and finally have a film where no one does things that aren't impossible, that all the ropes are right, all the portal edges, which people sleep on the side of the big wall, are right. We really put a lot of effort into that. At the same time, we also put a lot of effort into the fact that you don't have to know anything about rock climbing to enjoy this film. It's not necessarily about rock climbing. That's just the setting and what the characters are doing. It's not necessarily what the film is about, right?
yeah,
So hopefully we're straddling the good line here where rock climbers can watch it and feel like, oh, okay, this was made for us. But
yeah.
someone who doesn't know anything about rock climbing can easily watch it and understand what's happening. So
Uh,
that's
oh,
that's kind of how we put it through.
I love the concept. Sounds good and unique and very clever, Brendan. So
I
I hope it makes it
I
to
hope
Australia.
I hope it's clever. That was one thing I think, my personal politics aside or anything like that, I wanted to make a film that anybody could enjoy. That it's not, this is make no mistake, this is a popcorn film, right? It's not something that you have to think deeply about. It doesn't have some overlying social message to it. It's just for someone for an hour and 40 minutes who just want to eat popcorn, enjoy a good original story,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and be entertained, right?
yeah, yeah.
As this in Gladiator, are you not entertained, right? That's essentially what it is.
Oh,
So
Gladiator. I've just
I
seen
hope.
Gladiator. It was like, for me, it was, oh, is it finished yet? The gory bits. But it was good. It was epic. But
uh,
yeah. But indie films, we're talking, yeah. You're really touching on something that is, yeah, quite unique, as you said, because it is about sound. And you've got a very good interim as to yeah, a sound voice. That's scary.
yeah, and at the end, so they make this climb up. I don't want to spoilers, but they make
Oh,
this climb
yep,
up, and they find the alien origination of the sound wave. And so we use, I'm not know if you know what somatics are, but somatics are like certain sound frequencies will make shapes depending on the frequency, like specific geometric patterns.
yeah,
And we use those in this film, to how the sound is talking to people through these somatic shapes. And so there's not too many people. Like, I'll give you an idea. My VFX team, which was very good, couldn't
mm,
re couldn't authentically recreate artificial somatic shapes. I had to go to someone who makes them. There's only a few people in the world that have what's called a cinescope, where they take like spoken words and they make a somatic shape out of it.
okay,
So all the words that are spoken, that the sound is speaking, is actually me. I recorded myself, sent to these guys, and they made real somatic shapes for us to use in the film. So they're because our VFX team couldn't recreate. There's like trillions of water molecules that do it. They just couldn't do it. So we really wanted to make the sound aspect, of course it's called the sound,
yeah.
front and foremost, and just cool, I guess.
Well, fantastic. I can't wait. I really would, yeah, love to stay in touch and see if this is going to hit our shores in Australia as well. But
Oh,
so
we're talking to people in Australia. It'll
great,
get to Australia.
great.
It'll get there. I'm not sure when, but it'll for sure get to Australia.
Okay.
And hopefully I've got a sequel lined up. You never know how those work out. If the sound works out, then great, we're ready
Yeah.
to roll. I'm kind of I'm not a big, me personally, I'm not a big sequel fan, but there is a little bit continuation of the story here. So
Great.
um, ho-
Fantastic.
hopefully it all comes to fruition. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, look, it's been wonderful talking to you today, Brendan, and hearing about the sound. And just to cap off, how are things in America with all the filmmakers at the moment, with now Trump coming in?
Well, we'll have to see if the change in administration, really affects the industry. Unfortunately, there's been forces in motion for years now that are leading to the current state of the industry. And it's a little bit feast or famine, right? Even for the studios. If you had told me 5 years ago that Robert Zemeckis would get Tom Hanks back together with Robin Wright, the first since Forrest Gump, and make a movie for $80 million, and it would only bring in $5 million on its opening weekend, I would have told you were crazy. But that's exactly what just happened a month ago, right? With one of the most famous directors of all time was one of the most famous actors, and it completely failed. And I think it's just kind of endemic right now, or indicative of the fact that Hollywood doesn't really know what audience want right now. And
Yeah,
and I think what a lot of people don't understand is that Hollywood's not trying to indoctrinate people or try to push these things on people. Hollywood gives what people want. It's the other way around, right? Because if something doesn't make money, that's it. That movie doesn't get funded or doesn't get released, and then movies like it afterwards, if it goes out and bombs, do not get funded. So you see sequels,
yeah,
strong existing IP,
yeah,
and reboots now essentially coming from the major studios. And then
yeah,
you also look at this major studios and what's happening with them here in America is almost a complete failure to make money. Netflix is the only streaming service that is profitable. They're the only one. At Disney's, Paramount just had to basically go bankrupt or be acquired, right? So the standalone studios such as Warner Brothers back in the day or Paramount don't really exist anymore. They're all owned by larger companies
yeah,
that aren't in the business of filmmaking, right? That are in the business of making money.
yeah,
And you right now you look at what gets released, there's no really 30 to 40 million dollar budget movies anymore. It's either a 200 million dollar, blockbuster. I think Sony made the last Venom for 120 million. That's just pretty cheap for a comic book film, but it's still 120 million dollars when you add on the P&A campaign on top of it. You're looking at a 200 million dollar spend, even on the least expensive one.
yeah,
Then you've got where I live in the independent film, which is, typically $5 million under, but really under $2 million. And it becomes difficult to execute something like the sound on our $2 million budget, right?
yeah,
It's difficult. There's over 400 VFX shots in the film.
yeah,
That's expensive, and nothing kills an indie film faster than having bad VFX, right?
yeah,
Can I go to America and get my VFX done? Absolutely. Can I do it on my budget? I can't. I
yeah,
can't. I've got to send out the roto work and everything to India and to overseas where they're working for less money, right?
yeah.
It's a difficult situation, especially with the strikes that just happened. So the sound, we actually were filming when the SAG after strike happened last summer.
Oh,
We
okay.
were shut down in the middle of filming because all the actors went on
Yeah,
strike. Now
yeah,
I'm in the DGA myself, so both my parents were teachers in the teachers union, and I'm very pro-union. At the same time, you have to look at what that strike did to the industry, or help continue the path of contraction, right?
mm,
Because SAG got these gains, they got residual gains, they got everything boosted up as far as base salary. But let me tell you this, if Netflix has $250 million to budget on filmmaking for a year, and now they have to give $50 million more to the actors, do you think they're going to spend $300 million on their filmmaking? They are not. They're going to still spend $250 million, but now with less projects.
yeah,
And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. On one hand, there's outlets everywhere. Tubi, YouTube, content creators are everywhere, right? It's never been easier to produce content right now, and that's an awesome, awesome thing.
Yeah.
The other hand, it's never been harder to make films that are $1 million films, sell them, get them released, get them out to theaters, and make money off those films.
Yeah.
And it's never been harder for my actor friends and SAGs who are working actors. It's tough. It's like a feeding frenzy. There's one role on a Netflix show, and there's 100 people
Mm,
going for it, right? Now that's always been kind of the case. It's a competitive industry, and it always has been.
mm.
And they're always going to say that ideas are going to rise to the cream of the crop, or just write a really good. If you build it, they will come,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to believe that. Like I have to believe that. Otherwise, what am I doing? Otherwise I'm just making movies for myself, which is partly true, but it's show business. And that old adage, there's no business without a show, and there's no show without the business. And so if you the cold hard statistics are something like 97% of first-time filmmakers do not make another film. And why is that? It's because it wasn't a studio film. It was a small independent film that they maxed out their credit cards. They borrowed money from their friends and family anywhere that they could to put together this film. Yay, we completed it. It went to a distributor, hopefully, but that distribution deal was bad. They didn't make any money. Their investors lost all their money, and so now they can't make any more films because they don't have anybody to give them money to make that film.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. So at one hand, I'm incredibly positive about it's never some of the tools that are coming out. I personally don't think that AI is going to be that much of a game changer. I see it in work. I'm using it myself.
Yeah.
It works sort of right now. It doesn't really work in the way that I think people think it works.
Yeah.
Um, you're still looking at using digi doubles and massively expensive things that Marvel can afford to, that Disney can afford to, but I can't afford to do that stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're still years away from being able to talk to like Sora, if you know about Sora, where you type, like a woman with a red dress walks into a bar, and then AI creates that scene for you. It can't really do that right now, but it will. Eventually, it will be able to do that. So I would tell any prospective filmmaker right now, you sure go to film school if you want to waste $60,000 or whatever. You can essentially learn all this by just being beyond set. But learn how to use AI, learn how it's going to help smooth line the production services, because that's where the jobs are going to be. When it's just an editor and a director in a room creating a film in 10 years, that's probably what's going to happen, where
Yeah.
you can just be with an editor who's going to manipulate the AI. The actors will have licensed their voices, so you can say, "Hey, I want to have," probably not Tom Cruise, but you know what I mean, a name
Yeah.
actor who's listened to their voice. AI will take their voice control, pay them, and then you'll use that actor's voice over their scanned image, and someone will be able to create this in a room. We are not there yet, and it's not going to be there for a little bit. So there's still hope for us that are still out there, making films.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult time here in the industry, and it's always been an industry of no. When I was just a screenwriter, you had to be told no like 200 times, but all you needed was one yes to open up a door to get through, and that's still the case. It's just now there's way more no's than
Yeah.
they are now. Like we were our previous conversation about Neon, one of the biggest independent
Mhm.
distributors here in this country, was not buying an AFM.
Yes.
That's a
That's
canary in the coal mine. You're right. That's something you have to look at and go, what are they seeing in their numbers where
yeah.
this is not profitable for them to buy up these smaller independent films.
Yep.
Uh, Lionsgate, one of the biggest supporters of independent film as kind of an independent studio,
Yeah.
um, not really buying at AFM either. They have their own slate of films that they were trying to sell, mostly to foreign, stuff.
Mm.
But I think there's troubling signs for independent filmmakers who aren't going to be hired by Disney or Marvel or Sony or something like that, and are trying to put something out. And you just have to write something that's going to resonate with people.
Mm.
Then you have to execute it, which is difficult to say the least. There's plenty of good scripts that turned out to be bad movies. There's probably more of that than turned out to be good. And now you've got
Yeah.
the added problem of, great, now I've got a Apple ProRes file of 256 gigabytes. How do I turn that into $3 million? That's
Yes.
really the crux of the business, like how do I turn a file into actual money?
Yeah.
And that's a difficult landscape right now. And to circle back to AFM this year here in Las Vegas, which I was very happy that was in our hometown.
Yeah.
Um, there's always winners and losers in every industry, and certainly in the film industry. But it seems like that it's being tilted. It's tilting a little bit right now,
Yeah.
and unless you've made the best horror movie ever for $500,000, you're likely not to get rich. As we talk about in our own production company, if the sound breaks even, that's successful. That's a success, right? And investors don't like to hear that, and normal people who like to make money don't like to hear that. But on a production company level, and on just on a film level,
Mm,
breaking even at this point in the independent film industry is a win.
yeah.
You're trying not to lose money because if you break even, you can make another film. And that's the game is I need to make another film. Maybe this one will hit. Okay, that one didn't hit, but hopefully it made enough back that I can use that $2 million again to
Yeah.
make another.
Amazing. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you for
No
sharing all
problem.
that.
Well, thank
Um,
you for having me.
Oh, amazing. I could talk to you forever. Um, and we might come back to you next year when you're yeah, got progress and and things are maybe happening over here. We're running out of time, Brendan. I
Absolutely.
absolutely thank you for your time today. And we look forward to, hearing more about the sound. Congratulations so far on your progress.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I hope everything you guys are just heading into your summer. So I hope
It's
it's
hot.
nice down there. You'll go hit Bondi Beach or something, right?
Yep, yep. Oh, well, I'm in Brisbane, so we're in the muggy
Okay.
city. But but we're good. We're really good. Yeah.
All right.
So
Uh,
thank you again.
all right. Bye.
Bye.